Welcome to Winging It. We're doing deck upgrades today in Arkham Horror the card game. This is for Silas and Amanda with their 6 XP going into the scenario In Too Deep in the Innsmouth Conspiracy. So with Silas's 6 XP, I'm going to go ahead and spend 3 to fully upgrade both of my Granny Orns. So here's my other Granny Orn, so that I can reliably have an upgraded Granny Orn. I just think she's so good. She can, by being around Amanda, is going to help Amanda out, and of course, it's just way better than the level 0 Granny Orn. So I will also upgrade one of my Peter Sylvesters. So this Peter Sylvester adds the willpower boost, which is going to be really great for Silas. If you can get Granny Orn and upgraded Peter Sylvester out, that puts him at a 4 willpower, which is really strong for Silas with his 2 willpower. And of course, he still gives the agility boost, and he can now soak 2 horror instead of 1 without being defeated. So we're going to upgrade a Peter Sylvester. That leaves us with 1 XP left to spend. I can't upgrade both of my Peter Sylvesters, sadly, but that's okay. I'm going to spend that 1 XP to go ahead and grab a Brute Force, which is 1 fight icon, but you get 2 more fight icons if you commit it to a basic fight action. And if you succeed by 2 or more, you get plus 2 damage. So you can take out a 3 health enemy with this, or you could commit it to Amanda's test, and she could do it. But of course, he could pull it back if he gets like a bad token draw and doesn't get the succeed by 2 effect going. So this is just good. It's good for setup if he doesn't find his weapon. A good weapon. We've got this Derringer, which I still haven't, it's not a great weapon for this style of deck. I'm not really leaning into it very hard. It's just kind of a holdover weapon until I get something better. So Brute Force is just kind of another way for him to be able to fight until he finds his Meat Cleavers or his Sea Change Harpoon. So anyway, for this, I'm pulling out the Cherished Keepsake, which we definitely do not need anymore now that we've got Peter and Granny Orn, which we can reliably get those, for the Horror Soak into play. And then that frees up the accessory slot so we can put something else in it, either like a Grizzly Totem or maybe a Lucky Rabbit's Foot, although we're not really leaning too hard enough into a fail style, I think, to make that work. So anyway, that's our 6 XP for Silas. Let's go take a look at Amanda. Alright, now for Amanda, the first thing we'll talk about is the story asset she earned, which is Elena Harper, which is a really good ally for Trish. She's only a so-so ally for Amanda. Now, for Annie Kluver, of course, you're going to enjoy the intellect boost that she gives you. And, of course, the soak is really nice, and the agility can be situationally useful depending on what you're doing. And, of course, the first action you perform does not take a provoke attack of opportunity, which means, you can put assets down that first turn. You can investigate if you need to. So, she's a good ally, but not really fitting into what I'm doing overall with Amanda. So this did leave me with a little bit of a conundrum because I definitely want to run Lab Assistant. Like, I need to have a big hand the way I'm playing her, because I want to have access to lots of different options to play like the right card at the right time and put the right card under her. So I don't want to give up Lab Assistant. So that makes me want to do Charisma. But the problem with Charisma is right now I have a couple of dead cards in my deck, and with spending 3 XP on Charisma, leaving me 3 XP doesn't allow me to get rid of the dead cards. And what I mean by dead cards is, once I have Elena in my deck, there's like absolutely no reason to play Malison. He is a cheap soak, and I was planning to take Charisma so I could soak with him. And actually, it was really mostly for the first scenario where there's so much unavoidable damage and horror. But I'm not going to be playing him over Lab Assistant. And so he's really kind of a dead card. Now that I've got Elena in there, I would rather, if I'm going to play something that's not Lab Assistant, it's going to be Elena, not Malison. So Malison's a dead card. Fine Clothes, I really just took it for the second scenario. I don't anticipate there being a lot more parlays going, and even then it wasn't like super useful. I think I used it like twice. So it's not that helpful. And so I really want to get those cards out of my deck. And Knife, it's giving you the combat boost, but is not really brilliant. So while I was tempted to upgrade the totem, because the upgraded totem is much, much better in her than the level 0 one, and get Charisma so that I could play Elena, I just didn't feel like that was the best use of my XP. So we'll stick Elena here. And I wanted to spend, what I decided to do was to go ahead and spend 5 XP on the Time Worn brand. And this is really like a key part of where I wanted to go with her as a flex. So this is, of course, a big weapon. It gives her +2 on her fight, and you can exhaust it to add your willpower and do 4 damage, and draw 3 cards if you kill an elite enemy. But mostly, this is just a good consistent, you don't need to keep reloading it up with ammo. You just keep whacking stuff and hitting it for 2 points of damage. You put a vicious blow under her. She's swinging at 5. Doing 3 damage every hit. That's some pretty serious damage. You put a overpower under her. She's swinging at 6, doing 2 damage every hit, and drawing a card, which is also really strong. So when I was running with the overpowers and the vicious blow, my intention was always to be able to put a time-worn brand, and that's kind of the knife was holding the place. So we can get rid of the knife, with that. Now that leaves us 1 XP, and I still have the problem of, quote-unquote, the dead cards. And this is where I'm going to go ahead and throw in 3 aces, 3 copies of 3 aces. This is, if you commit 3 copies at once, then you automatically succeed the test, get 3 resources, and draw 3 cards. Really good. I mean, I'm planning to draw through her deck. I should be able to assemble the 3 aces fairly easily with the kind of draw that we have with the Dream Enhancing Serum. Them being mirrored themselves makes the Dream Enhancing Serum more likely to go off, which is really good. And it gives her a little bit of economy. Now, I had taken 4 economy cards in this deck. I took 2 Crack the Case and 2 Burning the Midnight Oil. And the reason I took so many economy cards was because, if we look at our assets now, we've got 5 for the Time-Worn Brand, we have 3 for the Grizzly Totem, 2 for the Dream Diary, 2 for the Lab Assistant, and then, of course, we're going to be spending Practice Makes Perfect. And the thing is that you want to get her set up quickly. You don't want to be waiting turns. You don't want to take actions taking resources. So knowing I was going to have that kind of a drain, I put lots of economy in her. And these are all things that she can do while she's doing other more productive things. 3 aces will give her a little economy. So I'm going to take the 2 dead cards out of Malison and the Fine Clothes to put in the 3 aces. I gotta lose 1 more card, so I'm going to lose a Burning the Midnight Oil. So it was a toss-up kind of between taking out a Burning the Midnight Oil and a Crack the Case. But ultimately, I decided to lose the Burning Oil because only she benefits from that. Once she's got all her assets out and she doesn't need to spend any more resources, then it would be really nice to use Crack the Case and give that to Silas. Give him some resources if he needs it. So the fact that she can get herself up and going and then help out Silas, is kind of what tips me over the edge to go for Crack the Case instead of Burning the Midnight Oil. Burning the Midnight Oil does have the agility icon if we wanted to spend a turn evading, but how often am I going to put evasion under her? I don't think so. You're usually not going to spend a whole turn evading things. Whereas putting an intellect icon, which they both have, is more reasonable. So I don't feel like I'm giving up that much. So that's why I decided to go for Crack the Case. So anyway, here we are. We added the Time-Worn Brand 3 aces. I still, I feel like for this build to really be at kind of flight level, I've got all the things that I feel like it really needs to function the way I want it to function. I do need to get the upgraded Grizzly Totem, and I want to get the Charisma so I can play Elena Harper. So here's hoping that we can earn 6 XP. I guess let's go find out. We're going to play Into Deep.